is green and fill layer. Okay, now we're gonna get the owl from our templates, copy it, bring it over here, and with 3 fingers, swipe and paste. Okay. We are going to start on a new layer, tracing over this. Okay, I'm doing this in case anyone doesn't know, anyone is a beginner. You just tap with 2 fingers and it undoes whatever you did. I'm gonna go all around this, by the way, and then we're gonna get to the details. Or the more inspired you get. That's one way. Because it's hard lately. I don't know if you, it happens to me a lot that we have the owl. The next thing that we have to do is swipe right 2 fingers to create the alpha log and get this color right here. And what I'm gonna do is, let me see, I'm gonna bring my template up and I'm gonna reduce the opacity so that I can see what I'm doing. And I'm gonna go back to the layer with the white. Okay. We're gonna start painting this. You'll always hear me say that I prefer if you make your own illustrations, not because, you know, I mean, you can use the templates that I provide. That's 100% fine. But I will always encourage you to create whatever comes to your mind or your own version of what I suggest in the prompt. Because to me, that's the most fun thing to see, you know, what you come up with. Okay, with that same color, I believe, yeah, I'm going to do the following. Where you see all these feathers, I'm just gonna get my brush to 30%. And I'm gonna quickly do this over them or within lines. Okay, themes. I want to talk about themes. I can't believe I remember that. So Susan said that she's going to have a theme going on with, I'm gonna make the eyes now on a new layer. She's gonna have a theme with cats dressed as ghosts, which I thought was really cool. The cool thing about having a theme in a challenge is that you make it so much simpler for yourself. Let's give it a couple of sparkles. You make it so easy for yourself because, I mean, let's face it, a challenge is already hard. And so if you have one less thing to think about, that's really cool. You have your main character going. I'm just gonna create little eyebrows. And then you can just adapt the prompt to that. I'm gonna choose this one and go to classic and then make it slightly darker. Gina has the witch going on in her characters, and I love this. She has a pet dragon, and so that one is also showing up in her illustrations, which I think is really cool. Okay, let's do this. We're gonna pick that color, and I'm gonna add a bit of a smile. Okay, and then I'm gonna add that. Okay, so let's come over here, create a new layer. And I don't have that color, so I'm gonna add it to my color palette. I play around a lot with colors. I tried to provide a color palette for you, but I always need like a lighter or a darker color? How are we doing with time? Gonna add a bit of a shade there. Okay, and in order to save time, we're actually going to use my template for the following. I'm going to bring it all the way up in opacity. I'm gonna get the selection tool and do that. Cut and paste. I'm gonna do the same thing for this little part so that I can keep some detail. Cut and paste, and then just erase or hide the template, just in case. Okay, for these feathers, I'm going to turn it into alpha lock, and yeah, with that color, I'm going to fill layer. It can even be a bit lighter than that so that it's not that noticeable. And then on that same layer, I'm gonna go back, do that to deactivate alpha lock so that I can actually add a few things. I'm gonna add a few details here and there to make it look a bit fluffier. I know that a lot of us are in the US and a lot of other people are in Europe and elsewhere in the Eastern Hemisphere. And so I know that it's hard to show up live. So that's why sometimes I say I explain a lot of things to the people that can't watch, that can't join today. Let's see, color palettes, and I'm gonna add a bit of a branch here so that he's not just hanging out there floating. And I'm gonna, I think, okay, I'm gonna do that. Make sure actually that you bring it behind that one so that you can see, and behind that, mm, yeah, okay, fine. Let's bring it all the way down. I would like it to be there, but then I would have this situation. I'm just gonna delete. I'm just gonna erase that part. Okay. This, if you go to the palette number 1, I think we have a better brown for this. Yes, I like that more. Okay. Let's go to harvest and get this one called Florals 1. And let's go to the white. Let's add a new layer. And I'm gonna put one there and one over here, maybe. Yes. Okay, and then with the one that we used before, dried leaves 2, we're gonna create a new layer. This one we're going to make this color. And I'm gonna have to actually rotate them. I'm gonna bring them down here, create a new layer, do the same, rotate. Let's actually flip this one horizontally. I like that better. And duplicate this one. Okay, and now we're going to merge them. Go to the selection tool and do that. If you can see, I'm removing everything that's above that branch, and I'm gonna cut it so that it's gone. Okay, and now we're going to create a layer. I want to talk a bit more about themes in a moment, but I want to make sure that I'm explaining this before I do. Okay, let's make it. Let's make this one called Three Little Flowers. Very, very creative. I have the worst time naming brushes. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what this. Um, let's see. I think, yeah, it's this color. This one right here. Um, I mentioned this last week, but there was a challenge that I believe is gone now called 36 Days of Type. I think it doesn't exist anymore. And that's the first challenge I ever joined. And I'm going to turn that into alpha log to add a bit of a detail in the center. What happened the first time that I joined is that I quickly realized I was not going to make it. I'm going to bring this down here because there were too many things to draw and I was making them way too complicated. But the second time that I joined, I was prepared. That's why I started in September for this, not in October. And I mean, this is pretty simple, but I'm not the most organized person, so I have to force myself to do these things. And for the second time that I actually joined that challenge, I worked on the theme of long distance relationships because I was in a long distance relationship for like 5 years. And then I got married, so it wasn't a long distance relationship anymore. And anyway, let's see. And it was very, very actually helpful because what I did was I had to create a whole alphabet, and we're gonna create a new layer here and get the flying maple brush. Um, let's see, we're gonna. That is way too big. I created like a list with a whole alphabet and the numbers from 0 to 9. And next to them, I would write a concept that had to do with a long distance relationship. So, for instance, A was for airports, B was for Buenos Aires, that's where I'm from, C was for culture shock. And so, anyway, in this case, we have the prompt, so we don't have to do that. But sometimes it helps when you're thinking about the prompt in a different way to we were talking about this in the community space. I sound like a broken record. We were talking about this where creating lists makes your mind just flow with ideas. So that was really helpful for me. And maybe the first day I only got to like say 3 concepts, 4. But then I had my notes with A, B, C, D, whatever, and I would just like go back to them whenever I got inspired and write the concept. Anyway, we have our owl. I think it has a few more details in the face, but you can add them. Actually, yeah. Oh, this guy. Okay, I had saved these details from before, so I'm just gonna fill the layer with a brown so that it looks better. Okay, we're done with our owl. What are we gonna do next?